You are listening to Film vs. Analytics, a Fantasy Points podcast where each day we discuss a new rookie based on the Dynasty ADP, battling them out, Film vs. Analytics. I am your host, Brett Whitefield, the film expert, and I'll be joined by the analytics goat himself, Scott Barrett. We are Fantasy Points.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Hey, if you're interested by the things you hear today, make sure you go to the YouTube page, Fantasy Points YouTube channel, click subscribe, turn notifications on, and then head over to fantasypoints.com, check out my rookie prospect guide and Scott Barrett's rookie model articles. They have pretty much everything that you'd want to hear in today's episode in written form, and you can kind of come back to those takes and check in as we get some information come the fall. So, all right, Scott, today we're talking Ole Miss quarterback Jaxson Dart, the QB1 of the 2025 draft class. Let's get after it, man. Come on.
Man, that is a hot take. That is a spicy take. I mean, like, plenty of the NFL mock draft industrial complex people, the NFL mock draft cognoscenti, they're saying he's not even a round one caliber quarterback. And you have him.
No, nobody's saying that, by the way. Not anymore.
Not anymore. They've come around.
Dude, we had Mel Kiper mock him 9th overall like a week and a half ago.
Okay. Well, you had that early.
Yeah, I my very first mock had Jaxson Dart going 1st overall.
Yeah, as per usual, everyone following your lead just a couple of months late. Yeah, so this is interesting or tricky, and I'm not going to be too much help here. I'm the analytics bro, right? And it's like very important for me to know the edges of my own competency and not stray outside of that. Like, that's what Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger always talk about. We're not the smartest people in the room, but we're the best investors because we know the edges of our own competency and we don't step outside. And so with that in mind, I do not see analytics being beneficial or predictive for quarterbacks, with the lone possible exception being Greg Cosell recently talked about this secondhand. He said he talked to an NFL head coach and a GM, and they all said the same thing. And this is what we've always said in the analytics community is, like, if you take sacks in college, that translates. You're going to take sacks in the pros, and sacks are very much a QB stat, even more so than an offensive line stat. And so you look at that, you see major red flags, horrific career sack EPA for Shedeur Sanders, for Jalen Milroe. You see horrific red flag levels of pressure to sack. You do not see that for Jaxson Dart. It's really hard for me to fight this or argue with you because, again, I'm conceding that for quarterbacks, the film matters so much more than the analytics. And you are, I think, the best film evaluator in the space. Your quarterback track record is really great, although you're still getting grief on how high you were on JJ McCarthy, folks. He hasn't played a snap. But yeah, so no red flags with the sack stuff. One thing I liked is, like, really solid rushing production. He had 8 rushing touchdowns in 2023. He had nearly 700 rushing yards in 2022, 650 last year. That's way more than Shedeur Sanders. That's way more than Cam Ward. But, like, I'll be the one to address the concerns that I'm hearing inside the industry, one of which does show up in the data. So we've criticized Ole Miss running backs in the past, Ole Miss pass catchers in the past. Lane Kiffin, we give him his flowers as this brilliant, forward-thinking play caller who can just get his players wide open in space, even if they're not the most talented. Shout out Elijah Moore and my all-time worst miss. And it's partly because he runs an offense with heavy play action, a lot of motion, somewhat gimmicky people. And you see that bear out. What's that?
RPO. It's an RPO based offense.
But you see that in the numbers. Ole Miss led the league in completions against busted coverage the last 2 years. Most play action, most motion, most RPO, all that stuff. And so that sort of calls Jaxson Dart's numbers into question. I will say he was significantly worse on plays without play action. I can pull up the chart. That's a little concerning. But I'll let you speak to that, how within the film you're able to separate things that maybe the play caller is doing versus, what was the play caller generating these yards, or was it Jaxson Dart or whatever, and what he does well on film. The other thing I'll say is I'm hearing from all these people in the Dane Bruglers, Daniel Jeremiah, Lane Zierlein, that he cannot get through his progressions. And that shocked me to hear, because that is one of the things you harp on more than anyone. That's why you did not have a high grade on a Justin Fields, and some of these other quarterbacks, and like other quarterbacks you hit on that other people missed on. You spent a lot of time working on the progression. So either you didn't see that way, or everyone else is just wrong.
All right. You gave me a lot to digest and talk about here. Let me try to unpack this as concisely and effectively as possible. I'm going to start by establishing a baseline. So you've heard this is a down QB class, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the reason people say that is because we don't have a super high-end, clear-cut QB1 of the class. There's no Caleb Williams, or for me, there's no J.J. McCarthy in this class. There's no Jaden Daniels even in this class. But the three guys we do have, I do think are good NFL prospects. So to me, it's not a bad class as much as it just doesn't have that lock stud. That includes Jaxson Dart. I don't think there are red flags that are concerning. So I'm going to admit that right off the top. I still have him above the other two guys, and we're going to get to why in a second. I'm going to address the things I like first, and then we'll circle back to those concerns. All right. People want to criticize the play, or the system he came from, the Lane Kiffin system, the RPO heavy, quick game centric, read option heavy system. Well, guess what? Jaden Daniels came from almost the identical system last year. We saw what he did in the NFL. Bo Nix came from almost an identical system last year. We see what he did. Michael Penix Jr., the 8th overall pick last year, came from it wasn't the same as the Lane Kiffin system, but still super spread, super RPO, quick game, screen heavy, disgusting, hard to watch system. All of those guys, that's the new college football. Shedeur Sanders comes from a super RPO screen-based system. Cam Ward came from a super RPO screen-based heavy system. And so people can talk about till they're blue in the face that Jaxson Dart doesn't get through progressions very well. Well, guess what? Neither do Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And I charted every single throw that these guys made at the Power 4 level. And Jaxson Dart unequivocally had more second read throws than any quarterback that we're discussing right now.
Wow.
So you can make that as a talking point. It just doesn't mean it's reality, though. It's just not true. Now, did he have a lot of second read throws? No, none of them did. That's what's hilarious about this conversation. They all came from a somewhat similar system, RPO, quick game heavy, and Jaxson Dart had the most second read throws. Again, not a lot of them. J.J. McCarthy had probably like percentage-wise, 30% more of them. But anyway, so I actually like the system he comes from for development in the NFL. Same thing we saw with Jaden Daniels last year and Bo Nix. These guys are rhythmic passers who thrive playing within structure. And when we talk about the things I like in quarterback play, Scott, what do I always say? I like high floor without sacrificing ceiling. And that's what you're getting with Jaxson Dart. What are the high floor traits? Your ability to throw in rhythm and run the offense as it's designed. Nobody in the class has more reps throwing in rhythm than Jaxson Dart. Nobody in the class has more reps operating and running the play the way it's supposed to be designed. This was the fatal flaw of Caleb Williams coming out last year, and we saw it manifest on tape every single game he played this season as a rookie. It was the absolute fatal flaw in his game. Jaxson Dart does not have that fatal flaw. The same way J.J. McCarthy did. They run the play as designed. He's a rhythmic, accurate thrower. He's mechanically clean. He's got repeatable accuracy, and he's got plus arm strength. When I look at the footwork, I love the footwork. It's crispy. The way he hits his back foot, the way he can step and slide, and he stays with a nice, concise base, ready to throw, lines up to his target. It's repeatable and it's juicy. I love it. He's got a live arm. It's not the best arm in the world. It's not Cam Ward's arm. I'm never going to say that, but he does have every club in the bag. If he needs to drive the ball downfield on a line on a post route, he can do that. If he needs to, put a little extra velocity on a ball to hit a nice back shoulder, he can do that. If he's pushing the ball outside the numbers, far hash on a deep out, he can do that. He can also feather the ball in between layers of coverage. Those layered throws are really impressive. There's a better thrower in the class attacking the intermediate part of the defense. That is the part of the field where you win in the NFL. It's not deep throws and it's not short throws. It's that intermediate window. That's the hardest window to cover in the NFL. And that's where he lives. He dominated intermediate throws in college. The resume speaks for itself. And then the last thing that makes him a high ceiling prospect is the off-platform creative ability, specifically with his legs. His athleticism has been completely swept under the rug, and I don't know why, Scott. This is a runner who had 70 first downs or touchdowns the last 2 seasons as a runner. 50 explosive plays as a runner. 50. Wow. Yeah, Jalen Milroe's in this class, but if it wasn't for him, he'd be the best running quarterback in the class. Not even close. I mean, this is really impressive stuff. If you liked what Jaden Daniels did in college, Dart is a very similar prospect and what they're good at, that really nice deep ball, the ability to attack the intermediate level, and then they're both good runners. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is a superior runner. I'm not saying he's not, but they're very similar prospects from a play style standpoint. All right, so I addressed the college system concerns. The last thing is I do think pressure to sack ratio is a thing for Jaxson Dart. It doesn't manifest in those rhythmic RPO-based throws. It manifests in the non-play action stuff. So if you isolate, just look at what he does, that sample size. You mentioned the drop-off in production on non-PA stuff. That is a red flag. There is a legit lack of production there, and the pressure to sack ratio skyrockets. So some of that, I don't know if it's him not trusting his eyes. I don't know. The sample's also kind of small, right? Like so much of what he did was play action. I think 54% of his dropbacks were play action. I do think there's some element of just smaller sample, but yeah, I mean, that is a legitimate concern. So I'm not going to disagree. It's also a concern though for Shedeur Sanders, and it's also a concern for Cam Ward, who has some Will Levis level interceptions on tape. So, all right. I just unpacked all that, hopefully concisely enough. I don't think I ranted too long. Where are we at here?
I thought that was great. I only have one last silly thing to add, which is nominative determinism is real. And the dude's name is Jaxson Dart. Like, he was just born to throw darts at the NFL level. The only way it could be better is if his name was Jaxson Dimes. But yeah.
Wait. Are you aware of his brother's name?
No, what's his brother's name?
His brother's name is Diesel Dart.
Oh man,
he'll be the number 1 player on my board when he's coming out.
Hell yeah,
name alone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So Diesel Dart.
Well, if he goes to the Jets, he should change it to Jaxson Fart, because there's just no way he's good. QB1. I mean, I really can't put up too much of a fight just because I trust Brett so much, and the analytics don't really work in my favor. And it really seems like what he's saying is it's not the best class for quarterbacks. So, hey, listen, if you're like a Giants fan and, your team didn't draft Shedeur Sanders, instead they trade back up into late round 1, get Jaxson Dart, you should be very excited.
Yeah, or even if like Cam Ward's going to go 1, we know that. Even if the Giants take him at 3.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a quarterback, right?
It's a quarterback, and you're not, you're not spending the first overall pick on a guy. Like the difference between the 3 to me is nominal. Like, I do have Dart QB1, but the funny thing about it is they're all completely different players. So it's kind of like, pick the traits you like. I am very adamant on the traits I prefer in a quarterback. Dart just checks more of those boxes for me. But I can totally get on board with the idea that Cam Ward should be the first overall pick. But that said, if you're a team picking a quarterback after first overall, you feel like you're getting some value. It's like, oh, I'm getting a very comparable player to Cam Ward, but I don't have to spend the first overall pick on him, or I don't have to trade up to get him. That feels good. So I like it. I have no idea where he's going to go. I've been, dude, I did Ross Tucker's show 16 months ago where I said people would be talking about Jaxson Dart as a first round pick, come this draft class. Seems like I'm finally right. It took a while to get here, but we're right. I just have no idea. Like, I think as high as the Saints at number 9 is real, but I think 21 to Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense. I could see the scenario you played out where a team, if he does fall, could trade back into the first form. I also think the Rams, they're doing
I
all
was
their
thinking
homework.
Rams.
Yeah, they're doing all their homework on quarterbacks. Stafford's not going to play forever. He's even admitted that. I think Sean McVay recently told the media that Stafford's not going to play forever and they need to think about life without him. So
this is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about he falls to early round 2 and then it's a team like the 49ers maybe.
Dude, that would be awesome. Get him in
yes, yeah. Long term.
It sucks for year 1.
Yeah, then you get. I mean, we're in a bunch of rookie drafts drafting right now, but then you gotta wait a year to they lose value. But yeah, I know. I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and I think one thing that could be true is whatever team drafts him, unless it's like the Giants. Well, no, the Giants have Russ now. I don't. Yeah,
Russ stinks. Russ doesn't matter.
My point being is he's enough to probably keep Dart off the field immediately. So I think whatever team drafts him is probably not playing him this year a lot.
Why? So, you said he's fairly NFL ready, no?
Yeah, he's fairly NFL ready.
I mean, what does Russell Wilson give you? Except no ceiling, just bottom 12 caliber starting quarterback? No. You would just play Dart. Unless he's just really raw.
No. At some point, you play Dart. I'm just saying you're going to have to wait on Dart to some extent anyways. So wouldn't you just rather wait, just get the redshirt season and go play for a McVay-Shanahan team? Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd much prefer that outcome.
Yeah. But I mean, there's also a chance they draft him there and then re-sign Brock Purdy for cheaper than what people thought. And then he's just forever.
Sure.
But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I'm more thinking Rams for sure. But
yeah, that would be sick.
That'd be sick. And then he'd immediately be paired with a good offensive line, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. I mean, it'd be a nice toolbox to work with. So, all right, let's get out of here. That's the Jaxson Dart episode. I know you've all been waiting for this one for a while. We should have started draft season with this one, Scott, especially since you're so apathetic when it comes to analytics and QBs anyways. We should have just got this out of the way. But here it is. We're, a week out from the draft and you're getting the Jaxson Dart episode. So thanks for sticking with us. We're going to be back. Finally, running backs. This is the last non-running back episode. We're going to start cranking them out. Genty, we're going to do Ohio State combo guys, Amari and Hampton. We got them all coming to you before and after the draft. So make sure you're checking those out as well. Thanks for sticking with us. We are out.